Okay, my friends, here we go. Let's try this again. Bear with us here. We're having some technical problems here. Let's see if we can get this worked out here now. Um, okay, there's Jenifer. Let me see if I can get you added on here. Add you now. I moved my phone to a different spot because sometimes we have some spotty connections here. There you
Hi.
are. Hi, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, better than before.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, sometimes here where I'm at, the connection is a little spotty because we're kind of out in the country here. So, but
Okay, that's fine.
well,
Yeah.
well, good. Let me. Now my volume's too loud. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
So,
Uh,
so you just so let's kind of pick up where we left off, which wasn't much. You just
okay.
got off work.
Hmm.
Do you mind telling us what you do for work, or would you rather not talk about
Oh,
that?
I'm a telephone operator at an hospital, that's all.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. That's cool. So what
Yeah.
time is it there in what time is it there in India right now?
It's around 11:18. It's going to be 11:20 at night.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, I looked it up and I think it's about 9 hours difference or something like that from where I'm at. So
Yeah, I mean, if it's America, then yeah, it the difference is quite long. But if it's UK or Australia, then it's quite short, like 4 hours, how far it depends.
now, well,
But
from where I'm at it for the UK, it's 7 hours difference still. So
mm,
I'm out. I'm in the Mountain West, near the west
mm,
coast of America. So in a place
okay.
called Idaho. I don't know if you ever heard of that. Some people have never heard of Idaho.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've heard
Yeah,
of it. Yeah.
one of the best kept secrets in America.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, that's great.
The great state of Idaho, somewhat
Oh,
of an
yeah.
obscure, one of the more obscure states of America.
So
The
is it like a countryside or a city?
Where I'm at is the countryside. Um,
Okay.
there is a city here. The big city here is called Boise, Idaho. Um, Still a relatively small city compared to like LA, Chicago, or New York. And I think there's maybe 300,000 people in the
Okay.
city. I'm about an hour out of the city because I'm not a city person. I prefer the country a bit more usually.
Mm.
But the city's close enough that when I need something or want to go in and do something, it's not that far. So,
Mhm. Yeah, country places are really nice. You can relax, and I love countrysides a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, and you can get out in nature a lot easier. And I like being out in the nature. That has a very calming, soothing effect.
Mm.
Are
Okay,
you in a city? Are you in a city or are you in a countryside?
I'm in a city.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm from city and I live there.
What city are you
But
from?
I'm from Chennai. Uh,
Oh, okay.
it's actually south, so I'm from Chennai. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Many people come here. They come here and we have a lot of tourists in my place because it is one of the famous place, I think. many people would love to come and see this place. Uh, I think mostly for the beach. I don't know,
Oh,
but yeah,
yeah. Well, beaches are always good. I grew
yeah.
up at the beach, so all right. Well, tell me, what's your on perspective? We're going to talk about perspective. So, what does perspective mean to you, I guess, or however you want to term it?
I was actually curious when you sort of said that your niche was changing the reality. I think that that is what you meant. How do you suppose that you can change it wholly? Because we have like so many perspectives in our life, and how can you do that and like so easily? So I was a bit curious about that.
Well, first of all, it's not so easily. And a lot of that is because of our perspective.
Okay,
We
all right.
our perspective is usually based on our cultural perspective that we were raised with, that was ingrained into us mostly probably as children, and then as we've gotten older, there's this certain perspective that people have that's kind of considered the norm of that particular culture or society, and so everybody thinks that's the way it's supposed to be, and so it's difficult to change that at times. And you first have to believe that you can change it, and a lot of people don't believe they can change that, and
Mhm.
so that's what makes it difficult. But you can change your perspective by changing your thoughts and your mind and so on. You agree
Oh,
with that
okay.
somewhat?
Oh, actually, I never thought that you can change your reality. Um, um, no, I mean, what he said was it depends on your perspective if you want to change your reality. I sort of got that point, but yeah, it's sort of interesting. And when you go into thoughts, that's like a whole different criteria. But perspective is like when you talk about perspective, I think of mindsets. Like we grew up with certain mindsets when we were young, and like you said, it uh, like our parents uh, rub it on us, and so we end up having that same mindset. So I think it depends on it's up to us whether we want to change the perspective or not. And changing the reality is like a whole different paradigm. I just don't know, but I think you have to understand it in a philosophical manner because there are so many areas to be covered when it comes to reality. And um, yeah, no one actually knows what reality is up until now, but it depends on the way we view our world. And I think that's like I don't know. According to me, it's like 1% when it comes to perspective. That's all we know about the world, and there are so many other things that we have to still learn. So for me, perspective is actually a way of surviving in our world. And when we have like, do you want to say something?
No, go ahead. No, I'm listening.
Yeah, when we have like different perspective or mindset, it helps us to um, survive better than we did before. So I think that's why we have to sort of change our perspective um, in our life. As we grow up, we have to keep changing it. We can't just stick with one perspective because it does not apply to every single situation. So I think that's my view on perspective.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let me give you an example, or let me ask you a question real quick. Do you have a hobby, something that you like to do that you do on a regular basis, or something that you're good at that you've been doing maybe since you were a kid, or maybe recent, in the last few years, or something that you've gotten good at because you've done it regularly?
I write.
You write? Okay. And
Writing
so
is.
when you first started writing, were you very good at it?
Uh, I'm not really sure because I was young, but Um, I don't think I was good at it because, well, I was a rookie and I'm still a rookie because that's how I view myself. So
Okay.
it depends on whether I like to write or it is sort of like a momentary action. I don't really think of whether I'm good at it or not. But compared to other people, I would say I'm a rookie. So no,
Okay.
I'm not that
Do you
great.
do you feel that you're better at it now than when you first started then?
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay. So just using that as an example of changing your reality. The reality was when you first started writing, you weren't very good at it.
Mm,
Now you feel like you're better. Okay. So now you have a new reality, right? Your new reality is you're better. And you can actually look forward to down the road as the more that you focus on your writing and practice it and work at it, then the reality is going to change that you're better at it. Now that's sort of a simplified version of this, but and I'm going to get into the esoteric side of this a little bit too. But basically, you made a decision that you wanted to be a writer, so you started writing, and you probably did some research online, and you started writing, and you got better at it. You learned some things. You've learned some things since though. You feel maybe you're a rookie compared to some, a famous author or like you said, other people that you know that you consider good writers. But you probably have this idea that maybe someday you could be as good as them, as some of them,
mm,
and maybe even better. And so this is how you change your reality. You focus on this because it's something you have a passion for, and you put your energy into that, okay, and
mm,
you get better at it, and that changes your reality. And here's the esoteric side of this, or part of the esoteric side is when you do this, when you put your focus or your energy, the ancient wisdom has a saying that energy follows thought. And of course
mm,
now quantum physics has proven this now. We'll get into that later. That's a whole nother subject. But um, when you focus on something, the universe conspires to make to bring it about if you continue to focus on it. And
mm,
this is why what happens is most people give up. They start, they hear this, oh, the law of attraction. If you think about it and you believe it, it'll, money will show up in your mailbox and all this kind of thing. And of course, it doesn't happen in very very quickly, and so they give up and say, oh, that junk doesn't work. It's not real. You can't really change your reality, but you can. And I've noticed in my life that when I put my focus on something long enough, sometimes it takes a while because consciously you don't believe stuff, and your conscious mind filters what your subconscious mind gets receives. Anyways, if I focus on something long enough, opportunities and circumstances will start coming into my life to allow me to make those desires reality. Um, but you have to be watching for them, and you have to act on them. If opportunities come and you don't act on them, eventually they'll stop coming. As the universe says, it's kind of like the universe says, he's not serious. Stop sending him stuff.
mm,
Wait till they get serious about it. This is why all the motivational, positive motivational, and esoteric teachers teach you that you have to persevere and stay with something. And you literally can change your reality. I've changed my reality by doing this in many aspects, and I'm working on changing other things in my reality. And you have to be patient because there's, especially, uh, something big, like say you want to be a famous author. Right now, that probably seems totally out of reach to you. But if you made a decision and decided, you know what, I want to be a famous author, and you started focusing your energy, which you kind of already are, you're writing, you're doing that kind of stuff, and you're focusing, but you may have the thought going through your head, oh, I could never be like this person or that person, etc. If you change that, because that's your affirmation, you know what an affirmation is? If you change your affirmations to I'm going to be like this person or I'm going to be as good as this person, consciously change that. Eventually, it'll get into your subconscious. If you've ever had a song stuck in your head that you can't get it out of your head, especially one maybe you don't care for that much because you've heard it over and over, like at work or wherever, in their head. How did it get in there? Well, it got in there through repetition. And so the good news is you can take control of that process By using affirmations, you can start repeating. If you really want to be a famous author, start telling yourself that now, and eventually that'll get in your subconscious, and the universe will start sending you opportunities to make that a reality at some point. Because but we want it too fast. Our culture, I think around the world, this is, especially in Western culture, but I think around the world, we want a quick fix for everything. And it
Mm.
doesn't happen always. It doesn't happen that fast. You have to do a concerted effort. Every successful person will tell you a story, if you ask them, about how they uh, felt like they probably should quit because they've been at it for so long, and they had to persevere no matter what. And their friends and family told them they were nuts, and abandoned them and everything else. Every successful person in business or wherever it is has a story like that. And that's the difference between people who aren't successful at something that they wanted to do and people who are. They stuck with it longer, continued the focus even when it looked like it was totally impossible and it couldn't happen. That's how you can change your reality. And that's what I'm trying to get across to people. And it's actually a tough thing to get across to people because our culture in general doesn't believe that. So
Okay, so
does that make
yeah.
some sense at all?
Well, from what I heard, it seems like there's a lot of quantum physics and law of attraction going on around. So, yeah, this reminds me of what Dr. Joe Dispenza said. So, it's like you have to retrain your subconscious mind if you want to achieve something in your life. So, for that, you have to be aware of your, no, not be aware, but you have to take control of your subconscious mind, and it happens only certain period and during um it depends on the wavelength that we have in our head. So anyway, that is a very different topic, but this reminds me of something that happened to me today. That is, just with energies and everything that you spoke, I would just say the reason why people do not embrace what is good for them is because they get drained easily. Because when it comes to negative energy, it is way more powerful than positive energy. And so when it comes to negative perspective, it is way more positive, way more powerful. And that's the reason why people do not get attracted to what seems positive. And but it's still easy, like positive methods are still easy, like you can get success if you really put your mind into it. And it's the same thing as, putting your mind into something that is pessimistic. It's the same thing, but people tend to lose control. It drains their energy, and that's the reason why they cannot work on their positive perspectives on some level. And ever since we are young, we are taught to be in a we actually grew up in a negative environment more than a positive one, because, well, we can't blame our parents because they grew up in a negative environment, so it's like a chain reaction. And it takes some time for us to actually go through this positive perspective, because we are trying to bring something new, and we are trying to produce something, some more energy that is out of our system. Now, if you've actually seen this monk, his name is, oh God, I forgot his name. He actually said that we have limited energy during our day, and if that energy gets drained, we may end up feeling tired, we may end up feeling fatigue and all those things. So it really depends on how we use our energy during our daytime and how we make it work. So just like you said, it all comes to energy. And yeah, of course, our thoughts are formed by energies, and we have to be aware of how we can um, keep our energy intact with the um, issues, the things that we want to do in our life. so that we can gain more success and we can go on that path. So um, we have to avoid toxic people. We have to avoid the energy that is going to drain you. So in my workplace, I have this a lot because there are so many people who keeps on draining my energy because um, no, they are not aware of what's going around them. So it is very easy, even here in any sort of environment, anyone can drain your energy just by negative words. It's really easy. So if we have to get across this, like to help them change their reality, to help them change their perspective, it may take some um, words of wisdom. I would have to say that because we cannot just say be positive or say this, say that. We can't just say do affirmations every day because some people will not be able to, may not be even be interested in doing that. So it depends on how we actually deliver this concept to them. So it comes down to perspective change. So if you are going to make it work, you have to find a different perspective to deliver to them so that they can actually get attracted to it more easily. Yeah. So I think
Yeah,
that's what energy and this old perspective is all about.
I agree pretty much, except with one point that you made that negative energy is more powerful than positive energy. I don't agree with that at all. It's
Okay.
because it seems more powerful because it resonates with our energy, where our energy or our wavelength is because of how we grew up and our culture and our society. So it's a little bit more difficult to overcome. And and you're right. It has people. You can't teach this to somebody who's not interested or who uh, doesn't want to learn it yet. They'll have to reach a point where they want to learn it, and so, unfortunately, that usually comes by some sort of crisis in their life. Uh,
Mm.
However, the idea that what I wanted to discuss with you for a minute when you talked about how anybody can drain your energy, that's not necessarily true. It's because of where we're at that they can drain our energy. And it is difficult, though. I'm not saying that it's not difficult. It's difficult to be around negative people, especially in the beginning when you first start trying to change and change your perspective. But once you can get into what I call the positive energy stream on a regular basis, and affirmations is a foundational principle to do this. You do your affirmations in private at home when you can, because you're programming your subconscious. Once that becomes your core belief and your core energy level, then you can withstand the negative people much better. There's a in the Christian scriptures, there's a passage in there that says a kind word turns away wrath. And and usually in that just on the surface that does work, but there's more esoteric meaning to that, and that's what we're talking about is when somebody's negative to you and you can love them anyways and it doesn't affect your energy field anymore. And that's one of the reasons you're around them, to learn how to do that, how to be at peace and contentment despite whatever storms might be raging around you. And those storms could be little squalls, like just negative people being negative to you,
Mm.
and it affects your emotions and your triggers and things that you grew up with. And that's what we're here to learn. That's what we're here to work on. But getting into that positive energy stream is a huge step forward. Once I was able to accomplish that, and I'm not perfect, I'm not holier than thou on this. I sometimes fall back into that negative stream and think, man, I want to slap that person. And but I catch myself now and I realize I have to get back into that positive energy stream. And it's usually because I've stopped doing some of the basic things. It's just like learning to play a sport, or learning to an art, or learning to write, whatever. You have to
Mm.
practice regularly at it to get better at it. And it's the same thing with staying in the positive energy stream. You have to do things on a daily basis to stay there. Like I start my morning out usually reading positive, uplifting quotes and posting them on Facebook and doing stuff like that, because yeah, I'll look through maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 quotes, and they're very uplifting before I post one or two maybe. And so that's kind of a ritual for me. You have to create rituals and habits to stay in that stream. And it's difficult because you're overcoming old habits that have been with you for your whole life that were programmed into you as a kid, by your parents. And like you said, it's not necessarily your parents' fault because they were programmed the same way and they're just passing it on. And it does take a person has to change their perspective. They have to usually somebody gets fed up. They say, you know what, I'm sick of living this way. I got to change something somehow. That's when they may be ready to hear some of this stuff and say, okay, I'll try anything at some
Mm,
point. And but a lot of them still give up because it doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice. Just like I said, if you want to get good at any sport or skill of any kind, it takes practice. It takes a while before you get good at it. So you have to have a desire to do it first. If you don't have much desire, you just want the benefit, but you don't want to put in the work. You'll probably end up quitting before you get the benefits. So
yeah.
so yeah, perspective is everything really. I think perspective covers the gamut. If you don't have the proper perspective, you're going to just stay right where you're at until something happens in your life that causes you to say, okay, I've had it. I've got to change something here. So, and unfortunately, that's usually some kind of a crisis. It could be your family situation could fall apart. You could get in some kind of an accident, or maybe you can get some sort of debilitating disease or what have you. And so Joe Dispenza talks a lot about why people have diseases and things,
Okay.
so anyways.
Though I would like to say that, like, there are 3 points that I would like to point out. That is habits, like you said. Habits sometimes um, they help us to move on with our life, but it's not easy to create a new habit but also we have to be aware of what kind of habit we are creating and what kind of habit we are getting into. And this is something that I'm quite cautious about because I don't want to get myself into an habit that I would pretty much regret later, because that is something that I'm quite cautious about. But there are certain habits that I would choose, like most likely that are healthier for me, that would help me grow as a better person, and that would profit other people as well. Like if I have this habit, then it will help others as well. Like one of the habit that I have worked on for a very long time is that practicing patience. Like you said, people are impatient. They are not patient. They don't have that because if you've listened to Simon Sinek, he would say that we are given everything when we are asked for, and that is the problem. Like when we are given everything right at the moment, that's when we start losing our patience. But we have to have that reward system going on. We have to do something in order to get something. So we don't have that in our world today. We don't have that sort of rewarding system going on. So what happens is that we are trained to get what we want when we are asked for, and that is the reason why most of us don't have patience. But it is a good thing to practice patience in anything, in every single thing. Like you have to be patient to even when you're cooking, even when you are cleaning, even when you're talking with your significant others, you have to be patient and you have to give them the time to talk about what they want to talk about. So it is important to practice that patience everywhere. So I have noticed this in me, and I thought, it is necessary for me to be patient if I want something in life. So I've always practiced patience a lot, and I listen a lot. Listening is actually one of a good is actually a good habit. Like if you listen, then you will
Very good.
pretty much get the idea of patience. Yeah, and it's like we have to practice it every single day. It does not matter who it is. We all need patience in our life, and we have to practice it. And the last one is perspective is actually a beauty. It's an art. It's not just like an idea, but it is an art to me because having like different perspective gives you a chance to explore your life. Well, I'm an adventurous person. I like to explore life. So for me, it's like I like to have like many perspectives as much as I can because I want to see the world in a different way. And so it has become like a creative and a beautiful thing to me. So perspective is like every single day I try to see things differently. Every single day I try to do that because in that way you would be able to understand like what kind of perspective you need in order to change your reality, in order to change yourself. And like you said, sometimes people change perspective only when they are in crisis, but that's not necessary. You can change your perspective um, pretty much around the age of 20. Everyone gets matured and you can change your perspective from then on forth instead of getting stuck in the same mindset that your parents taught you. So I think everyone should take a little bit of risk in their life and they have to try to see what their life holds for them. So if anything, we all have to find our own reality. We all have to find our own definition for reality. So if that does not work for them, then you come in, you come in, you help them change their reality, and you give them a sort of like advice, help modules, and things like that, so they can change their reality. So, of course, there is something important to have a good reality, and we need people who would teach that to us, and we need people who would impart their wisdom to younger generations so they can have a better idea of what their reality should be like. So yeah, so those are the things that I wanted to talk about.
No, that's great, and I agree with that completely. And there's it's exciting. We live in exciting times. There's quite a movement of people now looking in this direction and trying to move in this direction. There's still, a lot of the old uh, cultural stuff is still around, but it's slowly being displaced by a more open-minded mindset and people realizing they can change their lives, their perspective, and their reality. I teach people to get a journal, and I'm calling it the magic book now. You have your own, basically have your own magic book, and write a new script for your life, and write out the things that you don't desire and write in the things that you want to desire and read that script. Because you literally are creating your reality. People say they don't believe in the law of attraction or any of this. You create your realities. Well, really? Well, who created your reality that you have right now? You did, by all your thoughts, your actions, your reactions, and so on. Yeah, there are some circumstances that are beyond our control to start with, but the good news is you can still change it. You can create your own reality, and that's what we're doing. And that's a hard pill for some people to swallow, especially if they're in really poor or terrible circumstances. There's no way I
Mhm.
created this reality. And like I said, there are some circumstances maybe they didn't. But if you really look into their lives, you can probably see sort of a trail that led them to that, a trail of thought and actions and reactions and things that kind of led them into those circumstances, and they don't realize it, of course. And so to them, it seems like they're just victims. And even if you
Mhm.
really are a victim of some terrible circumstances, the way forward is the same as if you really weren't the victim. You just stop playing the victim and move forward from there,
Yeah.
because being the victim doesn't change the reality at all. To change the reality, you got to stop being the victim and move forward. And that's not easy, especially if somebody's had some seriously bad circumstances happen to them. But anyways, I agree with you fully. I think you said it very well, and that's what I'm trying to do, is trying to teach people this thing, and younger people too, but older people also need, you know, sometimes the older people are harder to teach this stuff to because they they have a longer lifetime of habits that they're trying to overcome. So um, So some of them look upon me like, what's wrong with him? He should be, trying to retire and relax and do all this kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't want to retire. I don't want to be bored to death, you know? So,
No, age is not a factor. It is not, but they make it look like it because um, people just want to be certain of their life, and they are quite afraid of uncertainty, and pretty much that's the reason why people find all these they have this black and white vision, but they don't see the grays, the other colors. So I think that is the thing. But just do what you are doing. Like it's awesome. And
well,
if
thank
if
you.
it is not
You
if
too.
it is if it is not for a person like you who wants to change a reality, then there will be no one else in this world to have that idea. So I think you should go forth with it, and you can still find a lot of ideas. And I I like the idea of magic book. That's sort of like fantasy, and people will be attracted to it, to be honest. It got my attention right now, and um, people would be attracted to it. And I think like we need um, someone to actually say it. Like that is what most philosophers did, someone to say, someone to speak it out. So I think that's what you're doing, Lane, and I think you should be happy about it and proud of it. You have to appreciate yourself every day for that, because if you aren't going to do this, no one else will be doing it. And um, I don't know, like society norms are like, yeah, most people don't have the real vision of what could be best, what they can do best with their life. They don't have that, and at least you have it. So that's like awesome. So you just have to go forth with it, and it will take the shape. It will take some shape, and people would really appreciate it once they understand what you are actually teaching them. And
Well,
especially, yeah.
I appreciate your kind words, and I'm not the only one that's doing this. There's different people doing something similar in their own way, but which is good. Um, I think you're one of the ones that is doing this too. That you're in some interesting circumstances, and I know that you're not exactly happy with some of your circumstances, and and that's normal. Most of us are have been or are in a situation like that, and but you have to try to look at it as an opportunity, as a way to grow and help other people. And there's a saying that the teacher always learns more than the student, because the teacher has to try to prepare to give the lesson, and so the teacher's researching and doing all this kind of stuff. And I have found that true to be in my life. And so by helping others, you're helping yourself in that manner.
Mm.
And by doing what you're doing and looking, I know sometimes we look at our circumstances and go, oh my gosh, it's impossible. There's nothing I can do here to help this situation. But there usually is. And so it's really important to shine, let your light shine, and share your wisdom and your knowledge wherever anybody is receptive to it. And you're going to get some rejection from people. That's fine. Move on to the next person. But I think people, young people like you, are very encouraging to me. Because there was a time in my life when I felt like the world was going to hell in a handbasket. And the young people just seemed to be, not interested in improving themselves or humanity or the world or anything like that. But there's a huge number of them. And I met a bunch of more of them in London uh, too. And I was very impressed with a lot of the younger folks who are interested in doing this. And this is the movement that I see. And it is happening with young people too. Yeah, there's a lot of young people out there that are just, wasting their life away. But some of them will wake up eventually, and more of them seem to be waking up now. It's not enough yet, but it has to start somewhere. And so seeing what you're doing and other young people out there are doing with this kind of thing is very, encouraging. So you need to keep doing what you're doing and push forward, take those risks. I know it's scary at times, but if you face your fears, as soon as you get on the other side of them, you'll go, ah, why was I so afraid of that? That wasn't that bad. Um, sometimes it is sometimes it's scary and it was kind of still scary, but still once you get on the other side of it, you're stronger and you go, okay, I can handle this. But when you're on the front side of fear, that's when you want to quit, and that's when you can't quit. You have to persevere. Perseverance is always the difference between success and failure. I always say there's no failure, there's only quitting. And I don't say that as somebody who's never quit, because I have, just like everybody else. I've quit at times on stuff that I thought was too overwhelming. And I think it's important to push through that scariness. Fear is perhaps the biggest limiting factor to the whole human race, in my opinion. It's always fear of something. What will people think? What will happen to me? What will happen to my life? What will happen to my family? And so on and so forth. And that's a huge, huge limiting factor to people moving forward. And so it's important for people like you to to face those fears, especially in your culture. Your culture is a very old culture, and so there's a lot of uh, old traditions, and some of the traditions are good, some of them need to go away, as you probably well know. It's the same in all cultures, even in the American culture, which is kind of a mishmash of a lot of other cultures that have come together. So there's some very old traditions here that were brought over from other cultures and kind of molded into this culture. And some of them need to go away. Some of them are good. We keep the good from the past and we discard the rest. That's always what I try to do.
Mm. And that's quite encouraging, honestly. Yeah, and I think we do have a lot of important features back from ancient times, and some
Yeah,
traditions are pretty good, but some are quite irrational. So I would have
yeah,
to say that, because we can still have some of them, but some of them are pretty much of no use. So I think it takes people who have seen both sides, that is, new generation as well as the old one. It takes them to see the difference and to actually make a change in the world. So it is pretty much up to all those people who have seen both sides and who think, this is not the way a world can be, and so they have to change, help others change their own perspective, as well as they have to change their perspective, and they have to come forth and help all those other people who are trying to live, who are young, and it takes some courage as well. So yeah, I think
it does.
we need both parties. I think we need both young and old people to come forth and save our humanity.
Hello,
So,
Deshana. Somebody just
yeah.
popped on. Yes, yes, it is. I know some young people that want all old people to die. Um, but and I can understand that feeling. But yeah, that we need to. We're in a time of what I call synthesis, where we're bringing the good traditions from all the cultures together into one, and trying to discard the irrational stuff, from the past, from all the cultures. And so that causes a lot of chaos, I guess you could call it, with people.
Yeah.
And so some people think the world's going to hell in a handbasket because of it, but I think that it's just growing pains. Um, Hi, Deshauna. We're discussing perspective, but we've kind of branched off into all sorts of different things. We're solving a few world problems here, and we're talking about changing reality. We're talking about young and old people who are helping to try and change people's perspectives. The main topic was perspective, and so the video has gotten quite long, so we're probably going to have to cut it off here pretty quick. But anyways, I'm speaking with Jenifer Cecilia from India, and we're discussing some of the different perspectives that people have, from her point of view and from my point of view and from our different cultures and so on, and the things that we have in common. The Indian culture, I think, is a beautiful culture, has a lot of beautiful traditions, but like any culture, it has some traditions, like you said, that are irrational and need to go away. And so there's a lot of wisdom that has come out, a lot of ancient wisdom has come out of the Indian culture from the past. And uh, I'm an admirer of that. I have studied a lot of different esoteric writings and cultures and scriptures of the different world's religions and philosophies. And that's what I try to do, is I try to take the good from all of that and discard the stuff that doesn't make sense. Although I don't discard stuff real quickly. I'll usually put it on the shelf for a while, because sometimes it's just because I don't understand it, so I won't dismiss it out of hand. I'll wait, and sometimes information comes along that makes it make sense, or it comes along that, yeah, okay, this is irrational, get rid of it. So I tell people, don't dismiss things right out of hand. It's just like this energy stuff that we're talking about changing your reality, the law of attraction, that sort of thing. Um, I tell people, don't dismiss it out of hand. Look into it a little bit deeper. You know, the book, The Secret, I think, I'm not sure if it did good or bad. I think maybe it did some good and some bad, because it made people believe that if they just thought about stuff, that money would show up in their mailbox and everything would change magically without any effort or whatsoever. But the real secret is you can attract circumstances and opportunities into your life, but you still have to take action. You still have to act on those, and you have to practice regularly. And there's a saying that people say that motivation doesn't last, and well, that's why we recommend it daily. Just like when you take baths, if you want to stay clean, you got to take a bath daily. Same thing with motivation and positive, uh, getting in the positive energy stream. You have to do things daily to stay in that positive energy stream. Otherwise, you'll fall back into the negative stream, because that's the norm still of society, unfortunately. So, any questions, Deshauna? I hope I'm saying your name right. Can you see, Jenifer, the people who are online? Jenifer,
Okay.
can you see the people who are online on your screen?
Oh God.
Jenifer, can you hear me?
Just stuck. Are you
It looks like
there?
her looks like she can't hear me right now. So we may be we've been having some technical difficulties today. This is the second video. The first one didn't work out. So um, yeah, okay, great, Deshauna, that's good. So I think we're probably going to go ahead and end this video. It's gotten quite long. Um, I appreciate you, Jenifer, uh, coming on and giving us your perspective. And I've given my perspective, and I think we pretty much agree on most of it. There might be some minor differences there, but it doesn't matter that much. Um, I think people just need to keep pushing forward, keep looking forward, reprogram the subconscious, read some of the Joe Dispenza stuff if you haven't. It's some great stuff. And there's others out there that are talking about this kind of stuff, um, and changing reality. The ancient wisdom has taught this stuff for millennia. And look into it. If you want to change in your life, you can. You can change your life, and you can do anything you want. Your life is a result of your thoughts, your actions, and your reactions thus far. And if you want to change it, all you got to do is change those. It takes some time, it takes some practice and some consistency, but you can do it. Well, thank you, Jenifer. Can you hear me now? I don't think she can hear me. So hopefully she can see me. I think she's having some spotty internet connection, either that or it's on my end. So, well, thanks for coming on, Deshauna, and everybody else that came on. during the time. I think we lost a few because of the technical difficulties, but that's okay. You can watch the video later, and we'll talk to you guys really soon. So bye-bye. Bye.